In this video, we're going to be discussing graphical control. This topic can be quite involved and complicated, so I'm going to be breaking this up into maybe 2 or 3 different videos. Hi, I'm Pisan. If you are a student or an architect who is looking to learn or have a better understanding of how to use Revit, I hope that you find this video helpful. Now that we are done with the modeling portion of Revit, let's take a look at graphical control portion of Revit. And by graphical control, I'm talking about line weights, poche, hatching, etc. In this video, I'd like to start with a broad graphical control of the project, then view-specific graphical control of the project, and finally, element-specific graphical control of the project. So first, broad graphical control. For this, we're going to use level 1 as an example. Now I know there's a problem with line weights around the window area, so I'm going to zoom in to one of the window. Now there are a few things that we can see right away. I can see that the glass line here, the line weight is just way too thick, and the window sash over here, the line weights might be a little bit too thin. So let's fix that. So I know that these line weights belongs to the window. To change that, you're going to have to go to Manage, then go to Object Styles. Click on that. It's going to give us this dialog box. Let me expand this a little bit so that we can see. Since we know that the line weights that we want to fix belongs to the window category, I'm going to scroll all the way down to find Windows, which is over here. Now if I expand this, you're going to see line types that should look familiar to you if you created the window family yourself. So we're going to take a look at glass. The first 2 columns represent line weights. First column represent line weights as seen in projection, and the second column represent line weights as seen in cut. Now let's try to find the objects that we're trying to manipulate, which is glass. So glass as seen in projection line is 1, that's the thickness, and glass as seen in cut is 4, and that's the thickness as well. So let's change that. I'm going to change that to 3, and now we're going to take a look at windows. So this windows here, the projection line is showing as 2. I want to change that to 1. And the cut line, I'm also going to change that to 3. And if I hit OK, you should see some changes in the line weights. Now that got a little bit thinner, that got a little bit thicker. Now I kind of like the way these 2 lines look in projection, but I think this should be a thinner line as well. I have a feeling that what's showing right now might be walls in projection line, so I'm going to hide the window to verify that. So I click on the window and HH on my keyboard, and yes, that thicker line that we saw earlier belongs to the wall. So we're going to go back to Manage, Object Styles, and this time we're going to be looking for walls. So I'm going to scroll all the way down. Under walls, projection is showing as 2, so I'm going to change that to 1 to match the window. And then OK out of it. These 2 lines should get thinner. All right, now let me turn the window back on. Okay, so I think the overall line weights in that area looks a little bit better. Now let me backtrack a little bit. So I'm going to go back to Object Styles and scroll all the way down to Windows. Now I made the change to the overall line weights of the window. So under projection lines, the thickness is set as 1, and for the cut line, the thickness is set as 3. I made those change earlier. However, there are subcategory to the windows, and that's why we had to expand and see those subcategory. So earlier I failed to explain when I made the change here, and then later I made the change over here. What are the difference? So over here, if you do not specify a symbolic line to the object. That is the line weights that Revit is going to use for that particular object. Now let's take a look at something else. Actually, let's be in the section view. In this section view, I messed up the line weights on purpose so that I can show you this. So in section view, I'm going to zoom into this area over here. Hopefully you can see that the line weights for the floor is actually a little bit thinner. The cut line weights in particular is actually thinner than the cut line weights for the wall. So I want them to be the same. I like the line weights of the wall. So I'm going to change the floor to match the wall. But before I do that, let me kind of pan down a little bit. You can also see that the line weights for the slab, which is the floor, is thinner than the wall also. So let me zoom out a little bit so that we can see the concrete slab and the wood framing floor above at the same time. Now I'm going to go to Object Styles, again under Manage, Object Styles, and see what is the line weight, what is the cut line weight for walls so that I can match the floor with it. Okay, so under wall, the cut line weight is 5, and if I scroll up, floor, the cut line weight is 3. I'm going to change that to 5 so it matches. 5, and then enter. Now if I click apply, you can see that the line weight here and there changed to a thicker line. Like so. So that's how you can change your line weights broadly throughout the project. Now let's take a look at how we can assign patterns and hatches to an object. For this example, I'd like to be in an elevation. So I'm going to use south elevation as an example. From a graphical standpoint, I like to differentiate a transparent object from a translucent object. So in this case, we have solid wall and glass. We already have pattern on the solid wall, which is the vertical patterns. So I'm going to assign a solid poche on the glass. To do that, we're going to have to be in Manage again. Then we're going to assign pattern to the materials. So we're going to go to Materials, and it's going to give us this dialog box. This is the same dialog box that we get when we manipulate the assembly of the walls or the roof or the floor. Here, the material that we're looking for is glass. Since the last material that I was working on was glass, that's why it is selected and highlighted right away. But if you don't have that, and if you have something else, the quickest way to get to glass is to search. And it is going to filter out everything else and leave only materials that has glass in it. Now we're going to select the glass, and to the right of the dialog box, those are the property of the glass. So we're going to skip everything else and just focus on graphics. What we want to work on specifically is the foreground. So under foreground, I'm going to assign pattern to it, and the pattern that I'm going to assign is going to be solid fill, and OK. And the color that I want to assign to it is the lightest shade of gray. And then OK out of it. Then you should see a gray poche on the glass. You can assign surface pattern to just about any materials on Revit. Now the changes that we made previously, those changes were made globally. So if I go to a different elevation, we should see that the poche is also applied to the glass on those views as well. So for example, if I go to west elevation, anything that has glass assigned to it should get that gray poche, and east elevation, glass get the same poche as well there. In section view, we should see that the line weights for the wall and the floor are exactly the same. And also on the plan view, we should see that the line weights improve for all of the windows. Like so. I think I'm going to stop this video right here and start a new video about per view graphical control. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you find this video helpful.